No, no, no. You don't get to play another time through there. It's ready to go. There's a button here. I forget which one it is. I think it's this one. I think it's that one. Let me get it started. Is that it? Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your part of the world.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
It's so good to see you. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today is October 15th, 2024. We're going to write a little bit of code today. How you doing there, chat room? I saw a number of folks here early. We're broadcasting live on Twitch and YouTube. Check it out. Hello to everybody out there. Welcome in. Let me scroll through chat here real quick. Say hello, Null Sheffo. Dr. Cox is here. C Sharp Titan. Hello. PowerShell Freak. Things are going well. Robert Stefan is here. Good afternoon to you. Anubis Moby. Good morning. Codebase Alpha. How you doing there? Hello. Updates to the chat. Ready? Updates to the chatbot? No. I had some things that I had to take care of for work on Friday, and then I was out of town all weekend. Had to pick up and address stuff yesterday. As we're getting closer and closer to .NET Conf coming up in November, things are getting a little bit busier, and I'm going to be speaking at Microsoft Ignite in Chicago. So now I've not only got a whole event that I'm presenting, but I've got a presentation that I need to finish building a demo for and working through. And I'm having a little bit of a problem with some of the features that I'm trying to demo. So I'm working with some of the product team folks on that, and that's taking a little bit of my time that I can't spend on things like our chatbot and whatnot.
DJ subscribed for 4 months.
Hello. Thank you so much for the support. So Thursday, we were talking about a bunch of things that were going on in the tech community. We were looking at going and doing the upgrade, doing some of the .NET 9 upgrades to the chatbot, and the discussion and topic around WordPress really hit hard, and it was suggested, and we started pursuing it. Hey, why don't we just start building our own very easy to use, very easy to distribute, anybody can pick up and work with it, content management system, something that does what WordPress does, but build it with .NET. Build it in a way that is easier for folks in our community to jump in and customize. And if we use Blazor, we can use some of the latest metaphors, some of the latest capabilities. We can even use a little bit of WebAssembly to allow components to be built, made, and deployed as extensions onto that. But better. That's right. But better. The idea being, one of the major attack vectors for WordPress is that it's PHP, it's interpreted code. So if you can update the code that's sitting there on disk, you've now damaged, you've changed the way that a website runs. And WordPress, I don't have any intention of replacing WordPress. It is more than a third of the internet. However, sensible alternatives, getting something nice out there that other folks can choose and use and get things running with, that runs inside of a container, would be kind of nice to be able to share and make available. So we started tinkering with this idea on Thursday. We'll dive in and talk more about it. The project is called Sharp Site, and you can find it on the Fritz and Friends GitHub. And we'll wrench on this a bit over the next few streams and have a good time seeing what we can do with it, and then make a decision in about a month about what do we want to do, where do we want to go with this going forward. So let me drop a link to that in chat. There you go. So you can take a look. We're literally right at the beginning of this, with a little bit of luck and some push today, and I do not have anything that's going to take me away from stream today. We're going to be running a full-length stream. We're going to have a good time getting through a bit of this today. It's not going to be done by any stretch, but we're going to get something functional, something with continuous integration, running, building, and hopefully we'll start to get some containers being saved off that folks can start to use for that minimum viable, hey, I just want to build something that is a collection of blog posts out there. C Sharp Titan had a question earlier. Did I resolve the issue with my parents' hacked Twitch accounts? Oh, let me tell you a little story about Twitch accounts. Can we do that? Oh boy. 1 second here while I get Spotify running. And here we go. I'm going to play the Stream Beats EDM playlist because we're going to just hopefully buzzsaw through a bunch of this. Let's use this. Free cells. This is music that's DMCA free. It's royalty free. Use it wherever you'd like. Twitch, YouTube, doesn't matter. It's free for you to use everywhere. Big thanks to Harris Heller and his team of creators for putting this music together we're listening to today. So, my parents were, you see them pop in every now and again here on Twitch. They drop in and say hello, and they tune in. Well, my father got one of those emails. Hey, we saw you trying to log in and asking to reset your password from the middle of Israel. It might know this hat. I'm not sure if it knows this one. This is from 814 Cider Works. They're a orchard and farm in Center County, Pennsylvania that makes amazing hard cider. Anyways, so he got this email, and clearly he wasn't trying to log in from the middle of Israel. So he went to go change his password and make sure that two-factor authentication was all turned on and ready to go. And that was a little bit of time last night getting that all set up for him. Let me get my gunners. These are the Marin gunners on. So yeah, that was a little bit of time yesterday. Let me see. You've been spending all day getting up to speed with the previous videos. Okay. Hey, that's great. Thank you, Robert. The software that guided the SpaceX booster, says Codebase Alpha, from space to be caught by the launch tower must be pretty amazing. I agree, Codebase Alpha. So for those of you who weren't paying attention in space flight news, I think it was yesterday, the folks at SpaceX launched one of their Falcon Heavy rockets, right? It was a Falcon Heavy, and as it was taking off, and we've seen them land the boosters on drone ships in the middle of the ocean. Well, this time, not only did they land the booster at a launch pad, but they landed it at the same launch pad that they took off from. Not only did they land it there, so here, this vertical cylinder, not only did they land it there, but they landed it, and the launch tower, the clamps that hold the rocket vertical, caught it. Amazing achievement, considering where we were in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, trying as a scientific community, global community, trying to launch rockets and having a real hard time getting these things to take off and go straight vertical. Amazing achievement that they were able to complete there. So, here we go. Was there not a project a couple years ago where we built something different? Yes, there was a project a couple years ago called CoreWiki that pivoted into using CQRS technology and got overly complex very, very quickly, and quickly became impossible to maintain. So that's shelved. That's no longer being worked on. No, this is going to be a bit easier and a bit simpler in how it interacts with database and those types of things. Your parents' Centerlink account got hacked and they lost $800. Oh my gosh, that's awful. Yeah, it did get overcomplicated. You've been thinking about this new CMS, obviously going to be contribute if and where you can. How's it going to be different from Umbraco? Oh my gosh, Junie. Let's pause
Junie
for a second.
_von_s just resubscribed for 44 months. Dad Fritz traveling the world digitally.
Yeah,
and I pushed a button, Junie F fire.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Love the Elmo on fire emote there. Thank you. 44 months. Wow. Thank you so much, my friend. Really appreciate the support. How's it going to be different from Umbraco? We're going to try to make this as simple as possible so that anyone can start up and use this, right? There is going to be a significant usability quotient in this. I want to make sure we dial in playwright tests, get those running. I want to make sure that we have a great continuous integration and deployment scheme built. And yes, there is a bit of learning purpose that's going to come along with this. I'd like to do some fantastic documentation, blogging, vlogging about how this is going and growing so that folks can learn from what we're doing and hopefully see that this MIT licensed project is something that altruistically folks could be able to move to easily. So, what about Orchard Core? Orchard is pretty difficult to set up. So, why isn't the Restream bot sending messages back and forth there? You use .NET Core based, yeah, you use Umbraco. Hey, that's great. Nothing wrong with that. Is it Oliver? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a great experience, and it's something that is easy to relate to. And quite frankly, doesn't get too complicated in the initial business logic. Then you start getting into configuration options, things start to get a little bit more interesting. You start thinking about multi-tenancy, things get really interesting. And designing then for plugins becomes, and enabling plugins to be uploaded, installed, and managed becomes a very, very compelling and interesting interesting project to work through. There we go. Now the Restream bot is echoing back and over to Twitch. What did I think of the Optimus Prime Tesla robots? Not a fan. Not a fan. Motown Andy, thank you so much.
Subscribed for 69 months.
Nice. Thank you so much for the resub, and appreciate the support for the channel. What did I think of the Optimus Prime Tesla robots? Were, by all accounts, completely faked. Like, by all accounts, what folks are saying is they were remote controlled. There was somebody behind the scenes that was piloting them and providing the voice for them and responding. Not a fan. Not a fan of... We are at a crossroads time as a technical society where we need to be deliberate. We need to be ethical in how we roll out new technologies. At this time in our society where there is little to no trust of our government, and everybody thinks, particularly in the States, everybody thinks everybody else is lying to them. To be rolling out artificial intelligence technologies that folks can create fake images, fake videos, fake articles, fake statements that are conjured up and meant to look like somebody else is saying or doing something when there is already so little trust in our society is only making that problem worse, that societal problem worse. It's amazing technology. There's a lot you can do with it. Yes, yes, and yes. The timing is awful. It's really, yes, you can do amazing things with it. Yes, definitely should check it out. The timing is terrible. Hey, Miss Sophia, I look like a truck driver or a traffic control guy. It's because of the extra microphone, isn't it? Breaker. We're going to have us a convoy? No. No! How you doing, Miss Sophia? Welcome in. Billy Cool with a big wave. Hello. Apricot is in Ukraine. Yes. Coding on Linux all October long. So we normally code with C# here on the channel. All October, we're using Linux. I have my Ubuntu IR16 laptop right here that I have broadcast over so that you can see what we're working on. You've seen WordPress, and you're like, ooh, I use that in your job, and they're doing so much. I'm literally at the beginning of building something here, and we'll see how it evolves, where it goes. With full WordPress plugin compatibility, that's actually, is it talented? That's actually not too far off being able to do with a project called Peach Pie. If you go to peachpie.io, you'll see this is a compiler that allows you to run PHP on top of .NET. So to be able to take WordPress plugins and use them in something else that's built with .NET, that's not a stretch. That's doable, but it's not it's certainly, while we're here at the very beginning of designing and building something, it's probably a bit further off. I'll share the can somebody share the link again to yeah, thanks. I what is that? No. I have an empty meeting on my schedule for right now. Anyways, being able to integrate and use other things from the WordPress ecosystem with .NET is not a stretch. It's far off in our development effort, and the project is intended to be completely open source, able for anybody to drop in and check out. So we might be able to get there. Many people, Kiss My Pixel says, finally catching a stream series at the start. Oh yeah, and I want to make sure with this series that I do record those 5-minute summary videos for once a week to say, here's what we're doing, here's what we're working on, here's what we accomplished. Luxa, thank you for the follow. And we're starting this during Ubuntober, my month on Linux. So I'm going to show we're running on Linux. We're also going to be able to do this on Windows, and everybody is welcome to participate. Many people in Germany are extremely afraid they will lose their jobs because of AI. Yeah. The timing of this is bad, and that's why there's so much uncertainty and doubt around it. It's almost 4 years since you've been watching the channel. Oh, thank you, Apricot. Hope you're doing well and stay safe there in Ukraine. That would be so hard. So, thank you, Miss Sophia, for the follow. So talented. Here, let me go over. Let's go over to the code. So here's Peach Pie. There's my. We don't need to show the keyboard cam right now. We can turn that off. They're already running WordPress on .NET. Using this compiler, full compatibility. So they've already got code written that does running plugins. So figuring out how to build that shim, that interface, so that it can work, sounds doable. Compared to if we were to say, hey, let's make a WordPress plugin compatible with something that runs on TypeScript. That's a little bit of crossing the streams. You're waiting for the Orleans series, Diesel Dad? No. Yeah, last time on the C# Fritz show, I need to make recaps for this a little bit more of a concerted effort, right? Just getting videos on YouTube, I need to make a concerted effort. There was one article that Copilot increases the bug rate 40%. Says ice cream stick model. Can you share that? I'd be interested to read more and learn more about that. You dropped Orleans, who has the time. Orleans has some advantages. Some of my colleagues are really into Orleans. It's not something that I've particularly latched onto and found joy using at this point. So, McNets, hello. you used Orleans a long time ago. Actually, you only use Aspire. So we're going to get in and get this wired up to Aspire eventually. But there's certainly other things we want to do first here. I thought I said patch everything. Go ahead, do all the patches. Do all the patches. You saw for a minute there, I do have the keyboard cam available. This is a Digma Labs, Digma Defy keyboard. It's an ergonomic keyboard that I'm still not great coding on, but we're getting better. We're getting much better at this. So there's Peach Pie. We talked about that briefly. Here's the, I mean, we literally just started, here, let's get a project into GitHub last time. And I started writing some code to go along with this. I have it here in VS Code. And I started laying out, well, let's build and manage a post object, right? The first thing that you have when you're building a blog is you collect posts. So I started defining what a post was, and I put out a base library that we're going to reference called abstractions that has a post repository. I'm going to use a repository model here so that we can swap that out for other data storage mechanisms in the future that folks might be able to choose and interact with. But adding these types of interfaces up front is going to give us that flexibility to introduce customization and plugins later. So I defined a post, and a post very simply has a slug. That's a string that defines the name of the post. The title of the post, I set a max length of 200 characters, and some string block of content. I don't know what it is yet, but we'll have some. And a date that it was published. And publish date is going to have a max. It's going to start with the date is the max value. Must store posts in Windows registry. I wonder what we could do with that then. So if a publish date is sometime in the future, it's not published. This way we can make the publish date that should be required. So then there's always a no, thank you. There we go. Right, so there's always a published date of here's when it should be published. Here's when it's available for folks. And if it's in the past, it's visible. So that way you can put something back into draft mode by saying, well, it's not published yet. It'll be published sometime in the future. Nightmare, how you doing there? You'll be right back? All right. Ads are starting in about a minute and a half. Thank you, Twitch. If you're on YouTube, there are no ads. Fun fact. There are no ads on YouTube. All right. So I've got posts. I set up a little post repository that is the right. Come on now. Thank you. Yes. Get the Stream Deck running. All the standard CRUD things, but particularly I wanted to do this. And for those of you that aren't familiar with this, this is a syntax that uses LINQ to allow, LINQ is language integrated natural query, that allows you to pass in a where clause for how you want to filter and fetch posts. So we're going to pass in a filter and it'll return a collection of posts. This is a public repository. I don't expect it to be abused on that, but it could be. It could be. No doubt about it. Devs gaining little or anything from AI coding assistance. Chris Jones.
Chris Jones just resubscribed for 67 months.
Thank you so much. This is from CIO. Measuring burnout, measuring productivity. check back later. Developers at Gatesoft USA, a custom software development firm, haven't seen major productivity games. Okay, I don't know who they are. Can we start there? Can we? Let me put this up. There we go. We heard that people are ending up using more reviewers for this code than in the past, and you might have some faith in the code. They're developers at Gatesoft, custom software development firm. Haven't seen major... I'm holding down control. You're supposed to zoom. Really? You're not going to zoom this? You're not going to let me zoom in. What? That's better. I want to be able to read this with my friends here. Ivan Gecht, CEO of the company Gatesoft, has been testing coding assistants in Sandbox, but has not used them with customer projects yet. It becomes increasingly more challenging to understand and debug the AI-generated code. Really? Ivan, I think you're an idiot. Ivan, I don't think you and I, Ivan, see eye to eye on exactly what you're using the tools for. Using LLMs to improve your productivity requires the both LLM to be competitive with an actual human in its abilities. Yeah. Software development is 90% brain function. No. Okay, these people... Let me show you. Let's take a second here. Oh, I know what it did. Wrong keyboard. Let me take a second here and show you. Okay? Because these people are making they are literally overanalyzing the problem, and they're completely missing this. Treat code creation AI as an intern, says DJ Blizzard. Yes, totally agree. But would you blindly trust their PR? That's where unit tests come in. That's where continuous integration comes in. Let it build and test and make sure that it does those things. This is what we've expected with the rollout of Gen AI, says Hylocomium. Need less time sources creating text, more time resources reviewing it for accuracy. I think this is where continuous integration and unit tests and integration tests are going to help. If you Google GitHub Copilot increases bug rate, you'll find lots of discussions about it. You're not using it right. You're holding it wrong, is what I should be saying. It's not going to do your job. Let me show you something. Hang on. Back up. So I have this repository model that I've defined, okay? Let's dig right in, and I'm going to show you exactly, yeah, watch this. So I have a context that I've declared, right, an entity framework context that I've declared that's going to manage those posts in a Postgres database. I've already done that configuration. I've actually also added an interface up here that allows one of these extra modules to register their services for use inside of the main web application or whatever other service we decide to stand up to support this thing. Let's go a little bit further here, okay? So I have the register services. I've defined my entity framework context to be able to do this, okay? So let's create a post repository that's going to create and manage these things for us, okay? Let me just git stash what I have right now, all right? What do we have here? Sure, add those. Sure. Git commit. And we'll just mark it as work in progress. Okay? So here's my post repository, all right? Let's just whack the whole thing. Okay? Starting fresh. All right? I'm going to do a control dot on that, and I'm going to say, yes, implement the interface. Not AI yet. All right? Let me make sure Copilot is on and running. And I'm going to take this. I'm going to delete this. Right? Jump up in here. Well, I need to make sure that I have a constructor. So, generate a constructor. Yeah, they take that. Sure. Right? And stores it in a private field. Yeah, do that. Right? Let's go. No, that's what we're going to be doing here. Yeah, there it goes. Go ahead. Yep. No. Right? Thank you. Yes. There you go. And we got to make sure we have one of these things. So I'm just going to say, yep, using one of, no. Hang on. And, yeah, generate that variable. Let's make it a read-only field. There we go. All right. So down here, write a post to the database. Yes, do it. Yep. There we go. Now, that you could say, oh my gosh, it's an error. We need to go fix it. Okay. Done. Right? And it needs to return a post. So there we go. I'm not creating these things. It's just doing it. Sure. You know what? Let's refactor that and use a primary constructor. That's a fine idea. Let's change this so that we're using a primary constructor. That makes it even easier, right? I called it PG context, and I will just call that context, which means that these can become like that. And I'll go over here and delete that, and done. Like, I'm using the AI for this. Am I... yeah, delete a post from the database. Go ahead, do it. There you go. There's the post. If we do have a post, yeah, remove it, save the changes, and there we go. Right, done. Now, I could put async capabilities in here, right? So, what Docker image do I use for Postgres? Latest. Productivity gains from AI adoption are also reduced by all the time people spend at work talking about AI. Facts, Hylocomium. First rule of AI, you don't talk about AI. This is not Fight Club or Project Mayhem. All right? Tyler Durden has nothing to say here. Well, these are suggestions, right? It's synchronous. I could change this to async. Right? We can certainly change this to async if we wanted. Right? It's now where's the hotkey for it? I don't remember the hotkey. No. Copilot chat. Really? What the heck? Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah, I know that's what it's going to do. Yes, I would like you to make some improvements. Make this Well, first off, I can't make it async because the signature is not async. But let's go ahead and make it async. Right? And we'll expand that. Right? Make sure to add the async keyword. Here's the updated code. And there's the method signature. There's the updates. All right. Now, missing a using statement. Done. Like, I updated and got those changes all done. Didn't have to think about it. It's that type of intern level updates. So, okay. So, Talented, something else that we've done here on stream is we've been able to generate blocks of HTML or blocks of CSS that do a pretty good job of setting up and doing some initial configuration for us, right? And then, of course, we'd want to customize that a little bit further later. I should make this post repository async. I should make these things return tasks. You know? Why didn't... Really? Yep. We want that to be a task. And are you actually going to do... No. That's weird. I'm not going to lie. Right here. Here's another one. Right, I'm going to be doing this the whole way down. This is something that I would love for Copilot to suggest. Right? Come on here. No, it's this one. And then I'm going to go over here and do this. And, oh, I forgot task. Right, and down here, let's take this and replace this with just, yeah, task. All right. Wipe it again. Developers, and let it rebuild. Yeah. Thank you, Nelix, 1591. Yeah, I know we don't have those. I'm going to check out chat here in just a minute. There we go. Oh no. I don't know why my daughter is calling me. All right. Is async await inside of transaction scope? No. Brum McNugs, thank you so much for the follow. You don't know why Copilot is so slow and spotty? I don't know either. You think Gen AI makes smaller teams possible than in the past? Yes. ByteDance is laying off hundreds of content mods trying to replace them with AI. That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. And yeah, TikTok is not ByteDance. ByteDance is... I forget who they are. Why do you need to query record first when it's... Hello, Eric. Isn't ViaTask better one here? No, because I'm not returning a value. I'm returning a class. Is it possible to return directly the DTO, or is the service that does that? Have I tried Cursor? I'm not familiar with Cursor. What's Cursor? Why would I don't want a transaction. Why do I need a transaction? I'm only writing one object. There's no need for a transaction. So now let's make this async. Right? Once again, me learning to type. No, I don't want that. I want that. There you go. Add a post to the database, right? And then there's that. Save changes. Return post, right? Come up here and let's cast that. There we go. Done. I did add to the PG post object. So here, this is the database specific implementation with indicators so that it generates the record in the database properly. I did add some explicit operators to allow conversion back and forth from the common type that we're sharing and using. Cursor AI, it's a fork of VS Code? No. I work on the team that builds this. So, no. Sorry. The text patterns, if you're doing a pattern, that's something that Visual Studio 2022 does. You'll need a human in the loop for a while AI is concerned. Yes. Use writer instead of VS Code. Can't do that. Sorry. So, okay. That generated over here. So now we'll just wipe this one and we'll do the same thing. Delete a post from the database. No. Based on the slug submitted. There we go. No, are you kidding? And let's also make this, right? Make this async. Thank you. Back down here. There we go. Go find the post because I was sent in the key. If you found it, remove it, save the changes. There we go. Done. Continuing down here. Right? Like, none of this is hard. Yep. So why not just let the AI generate it for me? So there the editor is telling me, oh, that you could do something with this. Go ahead, let Copilot figure out what to do with it. Letting it just do its thing. And let's put some entries in here. Select that item. First or default async. And it's still going to give me a warning here. Well, sure. What's it upset about? So it's suggesting to return a task of a nullable post type. Sure, go ahead and do that. So that now does not have the correct signature. So let's go back and update the signature. So when we do get post here, let's make that, right, nullable. I think those are good. Now that's going to go away in just a second after it builds. Yep, get all the posts from the database. Now, right, it's giving me a red underline. Go ahead and let Copilot fix it. And now it's got it, right? So I'm letting it do the thing here. Nullable objects are the reason you generally use result objects. I forgot async await. It did async it. It marked it async. And now it's awaiting that collection coming back and then doing a select off of that. Now, right, it's returning an IEnumerable. So I am getting it to complete the database select here. I'm okay with that. As a rule, I prefer this as an array. Because the list is editable in memory, I don't want it to be editable in memory. So let's do the exact same thing now for here. Yep, based on the where clause. Let's see what it does. So you're going to do a task from result. Really? Tell me more. Yeah. Now, let's talk about this one. Right? Because that's interesting. It's doing a task from result. Context post select where as queryable. So by doing that, it's deferring the actual execution of that where clause, this statement, until after it actually starts iterating through it. In get post, you're right, and I didn't get any kind of warning there. That's interesting. Well, actually, hang on. There's a reason I didn't get any warning, because that returns a task, and I'm returning a task. So it's actually legit. And then you can control when that task runs later, instead of forcing it to run within the scope of, right, within the scope of this method. But I do want it to run here. You're right. So, here, though, this one, I think I do want to make this actually execute here. And get rid of some of this. And let's do an await on that. And get rid of that. Now, no. As now, because I'm returning it as an iQueryable, you can further interact with it. It should be an expression of type func. Let me come back to that. Maybe I don't want this coming back as an iQueryable, because I'm already giving you enough control over here to pass in and handle what you'd like. So I'm going to update that from iQueryable to IEnumerable. IEnumerable. Thank you. And then we can go back over here and update this. Come here. Thank you. And then I can do this as I want to do to array async, but what? First or default, yeah. First or default, delete, save changes. Yeah. I should be able to do that. Am I missing a... Okay, do it. Give me the appropriate using state. No. What am I doing? Yeah, I should be able to do... Time to look at old code. You're not wrong. Right, I just did... Where was it? I did a two array async on that collection. Move that where up. Let's make sure we do that. Oh, you know what? Hang on. That's a func of type post. Oh boy, this is going to be... yeah. Oh boy, this is going to be a little bit uglier than I thought. Because the where clause is referring to the generic post type, not the database-specific post type. I think I made a mistake here, and we probably don't want that where clause. Right, this is something where I don't think... Okay, give me the using system link, sure. Go ahead, tell me how you're going to fix that. Does that do? No. Now I can do two array async. Okay. Interesting. It works. That definitely works. Okay. And then we'll do the update post here real quick. Right. Yep, update a post in the database. There it is. Save changes. And let's make this right. Save changes async. Cool. Give me the return. Thank you. Right, I generated most of that, right? I didn't have to go and type all the things, right? Stand by. Just double checking here. Okay. So you wonder what SQL that produces? So that's going... I mean, we'll be able to see what it does, but that should convert and do that comparison before it gets there, right? And somebody was saying this should be an expression. Oops. Right, which is going to make this a little bit weirder to do. Right. Go ahead, let Copilot fix it. Where compile invoke. See, that's weird. So, I don't know if that's right or not. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. So I have my Postgres repository set up. I have a configuration for that. I also wrote a class over here that implements that I register services and says, here's how you register the Postgres repository. I also need to register the database context. So close. So close. Not quite what I'm looking for, though. Because what I'd like it to do get rid of that. Yes, that's what I want to do. Thank you. I wanted to do the .NET Aspire version of that so that we get all the telemetry hooked up, so that to some of the questions we had, we get those interactions saved and written out as open telemetry statements. That's handled for us automatically, wiring up all of those capabilities, all the metrics that we want to measure around that, all taken care of with that one line of code right there. Add npg SQL db context. Love it. Makes things so much easier. So, if I go back to the website, right? So for the first instance of the website that we're running, which right now is literally just the default website. I think I went through and removed a couple of the pages. No, I didn't yet. But I did add app host here. And I have it by default for right now, just to get an initial thing running. I have it adding Postgres and a server that I'm just calling database. Create a database by adding a database with that database name, and we'll put it, stash it in the variable DB, and we'll make that available to our web front end DB. So the web front end down here. Oh, I'm in come here, you. It references only service defaults. So we need to teach it. I need to teach it. About Sharp Site Web. I need to teach it about the Postgres stuff. So we're going to .NET add reference Sharp Site data Postgres. And now it adds a reference to it. So, right, let's get rid of that. Back over here. Not that one. That's the app host on the website. This one. So now, before I go and add service defaults, right? And we'll figure out how to make this something more configuration driven in the future. I need to say, no, not configuration. It's an instance. This one goes away. This one. So I need to create a register Postgres services, right? So let's do something like this. No. New register Postgres services. Thank you. There we go. Right, now it's going to wire up all the Postgres things for me. You always find it almost impossible to interpret those expressions of link. I totally agree. A better WordPress has to still be PHP. Why? You like to use standard hosting. So what if it has PHP if we can put it in a container? It could be an extension method, but I can't implement that as a as an interface or something like that. Yep, Docker containers. There you go, sturdy pose. That's exactly what thank you for jumping in and saying that before I got there. Yep. And Docker containers is pretty standard and accepted around a lot of the you're going to see containers. Containers are available, and many folks are using them now. So, used to maintain a website that was on Classic ASP, 20,000 people on it at any given time. I've done that as well. Am I using .NET 9 RC2? I don't know. Let me go check. No, RC1. Didn't install the RC2 yet on this machine. And that's okay. Am I using Ubuntu for my OS? Yes, this is Ubuntu. It's actually Kubuntu. It's KDE on top of Ubuntu. Even Miss Sophia is inside of a container. $40 a year for standard hosting. A cheap droplet on DigitalOcean is the same price. Yep. So, majority of WordPress is hosted on shared hosting. Yes. And that's extremely insecure. The amount of maintenance that gets involved with that is crazy. Yep. Hey, Sally the Goose. So, yeah. If you can put it in a container, who cares what it is? When will Aspire leave the need for a workload? Next month. .NET 9 does not need a workload to run .NET Aspire. You're using Proxmox to host? PHP is insecure. PHP is insecure. Because it's clear text written on disk that as soon as somebody can modify it, your website is attacked and now you've got a problem. And the plugin ecosystem is such that you're relying on everybody to make sure that they check their variables and things so that they don't overflow, and folks use that overflow to exploit and write content to disk. Do I have my own VPS as a Microsoft benefit? I have Azure credits. So, it's not sustainable to compile everything. I'm, with respect, level 002. You're using a browser, right? You're using a browser? Right? You're using Chrome or Firefox, maybe even Edge, Opera, Safari. Are those compiled? That's right. It flourished because it's easy. That's what I'm going after here is let's make this easy for folks to modify and extend. Chrome's written in Scratch. There you go. That's silly me. Chrome is written in Scratch. I wrote code in PHP too. Don't get me wrong. PHP is fantastic. But it's insecure. Like, anybody that can touch your web server can change your code. Same thing with JavaScript and TypeScript. Anybody that can touch that web server can modify your code. Plugin ecosystem is where it is. Look at all the technologies that flourish because there's a plugin or extension mechanism. Why do you think Windows and DOS took off the way they did? Because it was easy to write applications for them and they just worked everywhere. So, why can't you install a plugin without compiling with some other technology? Sure you can. Sure you can do that. We know people have access to the system that shouldn't, so compile your code so when someone accesses your system, they can't modify your software. They can modify your software. However, it's going to trigger a bunch of things that go, whoa, wait a sec, this compiled code changed. It's a lot harder to do than just touch and modify text on disk. Sturdy Pose. We try and keep things safe for work here. So your message was flagged there. I'm going to deny it, but I'll read your message and kind of censor it here for the rest of the group, okay? Because I do appreciate what you're saying. Node.js by itself stinks, and that's why other companies made compile time checking tools before TypeScript was a thing. Yes, Script Sharp, CoffeeScript was a thing. So runtime type checking is difficult. It takes time. It's rough. And I agree with you, Sturdy Pose, completely. But I want to make sure that we're a little bit we're friendly in our conversation here, okay? Much appreciate the comment though. You have some very good points there. WordPress is not aimed at programmers, and neither am I aiming at programmers. But you talked about building a component that works in WordPress. That's not something the average person can do. Thanks so much, Sturdy Pose. Appreciate the consideration. Thank you. Yep. Not a problem. It's aimed at bloggers and casuals. Right. So what if we make it easy for those folks to do something? Like, you're criticizing a plugin system that we haven't invented yet. We're literally building, hey, let me show blog posts right now. These are very good considerations that you're bringing up. No doubt. Let's wait till we get there and have that discussion about what's involved in building a plugin system. We're not there yet. We still got to do things like build security. We still got to build things like authentication and authorization. We'll get there. You make some very good points. Not going to lie. Some very good points. I appreciate the discussion. These are things to consider if we want to make a plugin system accessible. And I think that's an excellent point that you're making. A plugin system for the casual website person, that the website host person that wants to host a website, needs to be accessible to their skill level, right? That is an awesome concept that we absolutely do want to dial in. To be able to make something that's accessible to folks who know a little bit of HTML and a little bit of CSS, and also to folks who are advanced and can code directly C# against the metal with unsafe pointers that interact with memory and control the processor with various threads and things, to be able to maintain that scope of an ecosystem for extensions is a very valid concern and design that we should consider. No doubt. Completely agree with you. Saying that this is the wrong technology for that is architecting something before we've even gotten to that concept yet. So, let's see. Miss Sophia programs in WordPress, but it's usually fighting with plugins written by other folks and wishing my clients would go with modern CMS and not trust third-party sources that have opinionated packages. I hear you on that, and I ran into that with a friend that was trying to build and deploy a WordPress application, and they kept running into incompatible plugins. And this is something that's very difficult in many ecosystems. Look at building and interacting with Node applications, and if you have this huge collection of packages that you're referencing and using, and they aren't compatible with each other, you quickly run into issues. And then you run into version skew, where a package somewhere in the middle of that collection starts doing something on their own, and it breaks the entire stack. It's difficult to maintain. Nightmare says, I think the target audience for WordPress has moved considerably, including more and more normal businesses. Yes, I think there is absolutely an enterprise level of WordPress install that's happened. And particularly some of the journalist websites out there that want that enterprise grade CMS. So you're right. You're not familiar with the .NET environment for CMS as PC nerd, other than the vague familiarity with Octane. Wondering what the vision for this differs? We're just trying to make it simple and learn along the way, using things like .NET Aspire to help us build and design and architect as we're building and developing our tools here. It was hard to do something advanced with WordPress, says Sturdy Pose. Yeah. Mythid says, a bit like the C#.NET version of WordPress. Yeah. Make it easily accessible and easy to use, and learn some good stuff along the way. Totally. Believe in SharpSite is the way to code and learn. Yeah. Look, I'm not trying to take over the world and replace WordPress, but I'm trying to build something that takes some of those concepts. And I love the feedback that we're getting. Some folks will agree, some folks will disagree with some of the approaches that we're taking, and that's okay. That's how we learn, is by hearing differing opinions. And that's a good thing, right? So I'm happy to talk through those, and let's figure out a way that we can accommodate as many of the features and techniques as possible that we want to include here. Miss Sophia says, oftentimes folks will choose a plugin for a small issue that requires less than 8 hours of code, and the rest of the plugin suite will create issues down the line. Yes, I've seen that as well with folks. If there's going to be the ability to migrate from WordPress, that was something that folks had suggested to import-export mechanisms. Totally. Will I make it WCAG compliant? That's the accessibility compliance standard. I think that's very doable. We'll have to see. Let's create an issue for that on the GitHub repository. Create an issue for that so that we can make sure that that gets dialed into some of the capabilities we have here. Those are very big dreams, Nightmare. What are my considerations for the get posts method? Let me go back there. I don't know yet. I don't know. Maybe get and qualify with some date range and a maximum number of posts, and do some paging on it. I could see some of that. I don't know why it's not finding this hat. It's definitely, I think it's in there. Drag and drop parts of features of the plugins as you need them and have a UI interface. I like that a lot. Am I going to implement multi-tenancy support? That's a great idea as well. I like that talented. That's very interesting as well. To add the accessibility checks to CI/CD. That's very cool. Returning of the object instead of the task. No, I want it to run asynchronously over here. No, I'm good with that. Help is the command you're looking for, Chris Funk. Okay. So the web application now knows how to register all of the Postgres services so that it starts up and does the things. I'm going to get rid of... hey, you added output cache there. I wasn't expecting that to be there. I'll leave that for now. We're going to end up refactoring this significantly. I mean, at some point we'll have Redis output cache in here as well. Am I going to merge today? Yeah, I hope so. Hey there, Toilet Witch. Toilet Witch 99. Hello. Yes, this is different from Umbraco. So, let's get rid of some of these other things in here that we don't need. Let's go into. I'll leave the navigation menu. Yeah, I'll leave. I'll go into the navigation menu, and I'm going to get rid of the weather and counter samples here because we don't need those. I forget. Did I make this? Okay, I made this interactive server. At some point, we may want interactive WebAssembly, but I'm okay with not having it for right now. I'm going to get rid of the weather API client. Goodbye. On the pages, let's get rid of counter. Really? Did you have to jump down there? We'll get rid of the weather. Here, you go away. That's fine to start. Okay. What do we got here? Yeah. Removed and prepared web for first interactions with database. Cool. And this is running and sitting in my clone version of that. Did I remove the tab references? Yes. Right, there it is. Right. Yeah, they're gone. Just the home page is there. So we'll have more capabilities in there for later. So yeah, 130 folks here. I like it. And I'm really appreciating the discussion over here. Wow. Let me head back over to chat so we can catch up on a little bit of what's being said here. Talented says, at my software as a service organization, I got a support ticket one day from a blind user asking me to add some screen reader tags to make his life easier. Added them that night. The next day got 47 more paid signups. Talented, that's awesome! Because he posted it in his group and it worked properly with screen readers, added $900 a month to revenue from like 30 minutes of changes. Yes! There's something to be said, and you did most of that work with an AI prompt. Very cool. There's something to be said about when you make your, not just your websites, but your applications a little bit more accessible. Not only does it enable folks who might have a challenge with their vision or their hearing, but it also allows other interactions with your website or your tools, right? Tab stops become a little bit more accessible inside of your application. The keyboard navigation for folks becomes a little bit easier for folks to do when they're interacting with things, right? Different audible triggers as folks interact with your application becomes something that even the folks that do have good vision can learn from and use your application more effectively. That is a fantastic story, Talented. Thank you for sharing. Can somebody clip that for me? I really appreciated that that story from Talented. You're going to make a PR today with new inspirations of the logo you have so far? Okay. Like, I appreciate talking about and thinking about a logo. Aztec Consulting with the resub.
Aztec Consulting just resubscribed for 49 months. 49 months of support is only the beginning.
Thank you
Thanks
so much.
for your hard work, good sir.
4+ years, Aztec, thank you very much. And we donate all of our subscriptions and cheers. We're going to be donating to the Raspberry Pi Foundation. Not only do they make the Raspberry Pis, but they also run coding classes, coding schools around the world called Coding Dojo. Big thanks to everybody who cheers, subscribes. You don't have to do that stuff. I don't require anybody to do it, but I like to pay that forward to a charity organization. C# Titan asks, do I prefer coding on Linux or Windows, or does it depend on what I'm doing? Depends on what I'm doing, and I can go either way. I'm still running into issues with getting used to the ergonomic keyboard and the programming levels of the keyboard. Level 002 follows up here. Think about what I said about malicious person editing code because it's interpreted. That's where server security comes in. You can put files in read-only and restrict by that editability to only a certain user. This also happens with JavaScript backends. Yes, yes, and yes. Is usually a risk with interpreted. Yes. I fully support what you're doing here. Certainly interested. Just an opinion. Totally agree. There are advantages of certain frameworks over others. No doubt. Completely agree with you, Level 002. And that's why I like encouraging these discussions, right? And seeing the different ways. You're absolutely right. You can control the security permissions around where code resides on a server. Putting things into a container, making them disposable so it's easy to restart and shuffle out there and let other folks get copies of those things. Totally a great way to take a server that may have been compromised, knock it down, and roll out a new version of a container that has those fixes. Way on board with that too. These are the changes necessary to a interpreted coding framework that's running out there. A server admin can accidentally go and change things, right? Or maybe even purposefully go and change things. There's different ways to read and interpret that, and as somebody who likes to program in compiled code, right, with strict typing, those are guardrails that our tools, technologies, and frameworks help us with. So, but it's a good discussion. Accessibility is super important, Sturdy Pose. Yes. A tool at Tailorus. A Tarlus? You only prefer Windows when you're working on a WPF app, otherwise Linux is always a better experience? Terrific. Okay. Hey, Guy Incognito, what if your blog needs to show the weather? Well, sure. I think that's a plugin that folks should build at that point. Biggest accessibility flex is when older folks who don't work with software that often can navigate through your application easily. Facts. And that's why I also prefer tabs over spaces. It's an accessibility thing in how folks read your code. You played with some logic this weekend on the Blazor-based app you're working on, says Eric. I can hide menu tabs depending on whether the app has configs it needs. Using a past state forces the user to set up first things first. Okay. A VCR theme. It feels weird to spaghetti developer to leave loose code out there. I agree with you on that one. Thinking of going for a Linux dev box, says Fuel Snable. Think the tool I find most difficult is to replace is SSMS. Take a look at Azure Data Studio. It's not going to get you all the way to SSMS, but it's another Electron-based app that allows you to build and work with your database a little bit easier, but it's not all of SSMS. Yeah, there we go. Mythin chiming in. A couple folks chiming in with Azure Data Studio. What Postgres Docker image do I use? We're going to use the standard Postgres latest. You should try use Azure Data Studio again. It's better, but we're getting there. You think we should include SharpPress on CDs inside magazines as a demo version? See, now, Miss Sophia, you're showing me your age. You're showing me your age because when in the late 90s, early 2000s, I got it in my head that it would be fun to collect AOL CDs from the various magazines and the places where they were just sitting out for anybody to pick up. And I had a collection of AOL CDs. When I moved into this house, I had this giant stack of CDs from AOL that were all sealed, and I was like, see, that's my collection. And Mrs. C Sharp Fritz said, really? What are you going to do with this collection of things that quite literally people are throwing away? It's quite literally, you can't use them. You won't even be able to read them at some point in the future. I'm like, all right, yeah, you're right. And I threw them all away at that point. But, yeah. We'll do it as shareware. Right. You should get back to work. Your boss always watches what you do and tells you to get back to work. Talented. The boss, Mrs. C Sharp Fritz, she's at work, so I can do whatever I want. 3Ds to install it in 3 license code. There you go. Don't copy that floppy. How you doing there? Robert Tables is here. People sell AOL CDs on eBay for collectors. Oh, man. Don't tell me that, PC nerd. Don't tell me that. I did. I would grab the old AOL CDs, floppies, format them, and use them, right? Just put a new label over them, and now it's mine, and I can put whatever I want on them. You know, Chris Funk did the same. How you doing there? Land of the Leet. You liked empty floppy disks as ninja stars. Imagine flipping AOL CDs like MTG cards. No. Oh, no. I'm out of coffee. Oh, no. Downloaded a SQL Server Docker image. Do you know how to use an external disk to store data? Yes. You're going to mount a volume. The actual location of that volume is in the documentation of where you want to mount that volume so that it'll work. And you'll be able to work with persisting that off somewhere else. Did I do a full reset on Linux or doing a VM? This is a brand new laptop that I just got from the folks at KFocus, kfocus.org. If you run, what's the command in chat? Is it !laptop? I forget what the command is. So, you remember installing Win95 by floppy? Yes. Yes. Ads have kicked in for the next 2 minutes. If you're watching on Twitch, you can roll over to YouTube, and there's no ads on the YouTube. If that bothers you, but we're not going to be doing something. Site server 3.0. Oh gosh, guy incognito. No. No. Oh my goodness. Is it laptop? Is it Linux? Is it, oh, you know what it is? I think it's K-Focus. Yeah, there you go. There's the laptop that I'm using, and the folks at kfocus.org generously provided that for us to use and learn about Linux development with .NET. Yeah, there you go. All right, let me head back over to the code. Let's hammer away here on some of this. So the website, I think, is updated. I still need to put together my migrations inside of an executable that will start up and be able to host and deliver and update the database appropriately. Land of the Elite switched to Linux recently because of the recall stuff. That's disappointing because I think what recall is trying to do is something that actually a lot of folks want. Hey, what was that thing I did the other day? The problem was folks saw an early version of it that wasn't ready to roll out and started like bad mouthing and taking it down and basically saying this isn't right and rolled their own FUD that, hey, this isn't something that we want, this isn't something that we're going to use, so get rid of it. It can be turned off. However, for an enterprise machine, right, a computer that your employer manages, they may want recall turned on. So, oh, it's going to come into all the OSs. It's already in iOS. There's bits and pieces of it scattered into Android. It's coming. It's you don't have a choice in that. It's coming to everywhere. That's there. Yeah. I picked up some Alani last night. So I'm a big fan of these. You'd rather see it as plugins we can install instead of a default in Windows. Oh man, Dark Repulsor, you're making me think of the old Plus Pack. Something that you could layer on top of. There are some usability issues in Windows 11 that I would love to see repaired. Employer wants and requirements are directly against employer wants and requirements. Well, it's your employer's property when they provide you with a workstation. So what you as an employee want on your workstation at work is secondary to what they need. Yeah, all right, yeah. And it's right, it's that conflict of needs requirements that some folks have a real hard time with. Let it not be in there and just let us add what we want. I hear you. I definitely hear you on just let us add what we want. However, if you go around the horn and you look at Mac OS, iOS, Android, which folks who make those types of statements, just let us add what we want, and folks prefer those operating systems, you have more features being pushed on you in those operating systems than you do in Windows, right? Windows isn't allowed to package and require you to use the browser that ships with the operating system. Let's not forget, Microsoft lost that in 1999. However, Apple requires that you use Safari on iOS in 2024. You aren't allowed to install another browser. Other browsers that are installed, they're actually wrappers of Safari. These things actually, it's actually more constraining and worse on the other operating systems than Windows. All right, there are folks who have that false equivalency. Oh yeah, Safari is very much a thing. Land of the Elite uses LLMs daily, but it's in a web browser. Sandbox AI would be amazing, but having it as a dependency for KeyOS features, I agree. It's not a KeyOS feature, though. When we talk about recall, it's not a KeyOS feature. It's a feature, and I appreciate the idea of it should be something not just that you opt into, but that you have to install separately and is not shipped with it. I can totally buy that. Totally buy that. And there's probably other features of Windows that would be nice to be able to have to install and activate separately. So I don't work on the Windows team. I don't have insight into some of their decisions. DevHome, I'm very opinionated about DevHome, and my personal experiences with DevHome and Windows 11 are not great. My personal experience. Other folks have had an amazing time with it, but has not been amazing for me. Hey, Stabbing Swordfish, thank you for the follow. Nish, appreciate the follow as well. Let me head back. Let's get in here. What's up? Nothing. What's up with you? I feel like I should change hats because folks are like, "What the hell is that hat he's wearing?" No. There we go. I don't see DevHome performing that quickly, no. So, and there's features of DevHome that are available that make it clear that the folks who built DevHome are ops people and not developer people. Like, it's not bad, but it's like, when I think, so the idea, I'll go back over here. The idea of DevHome was that it was the place where you as a developer get started and manage your projects. Not just Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., just S.H.I.E.L.D., but Nick Fury! So when I think of the places that you as a developer go when you start your computer, what are the things that you do, right? What are the first tasks that you as a developer do? Well, I want to check the health of my continuous integration deployment tasks. I want to check to see if there's pull requests out there that I need to review that were submitted by other folks. I want to pick back up on my task list of things on my current projects. I want to see the state of the websites that I'm managing, things like that. That would be really great to have on a central dashboard of here's what's going on. DevDrive is a component feature of DevHome that allows you to spin off an isolated partition or a VHD, a virtual hard drive, that you can, because it's isolated, turn off all of the in-depth antivirus and malware analysis, and you can set up disk indexing differently on it so that it runs significantly faster. So your compile steps, your package lookup and association steps that you might be doing, whether if you're using Python or .NET or JavaScript, should all load faster because you move those local repositories over to your dev drive. Should run faster. In some configurations, I haven't had that experience. Hey, President Not Sure, thank you so much. Like, I have a dev drive set up on this machine, and it's a brand new machine, 64 gig of RAM, terabyte of SSD, and it's not faster for me. Other folks have a better experience, But I've literally tried dev drive on a half a dozen different machines, and it's not there for me yet. You need a VM with Visual Studio and the actual .NET SDK, and you're happy, says DJ Deepex. There you go. You'd like a list of all projects ordered by frequency. Sure, Robert Steffen, that's not bad. Size of RAM doesn't determine speed, it's the megahertz. Yes. However, the amount of RAM you have also means that you can load stuff into memory. And if you can load more stuff into memory, more stuff is going to be accessed and delivered quickly instead of having to thrash and cache to disk. Thrash and cache. That's a thing, isn't it? CPU? Yes, absolutely. And I'm not talking about slow machines here by any stretch. But my experience. Dev drive seems a little bit slower than your normal NTFS position on the same SSD. Yeah, Ned. That's been my experience as well. And I've been told that there's configuration that can be done and move around in an effort to try and solve that. As part of my job in looking at and providing feedback on these types of things, I don't want to tweak in tune. I want to see the default out-of-the-box experience with minimal configuration and provide feedback at that point. Algorithms, caching, cache locality are the biggest factors. Nowadays, hardware is fast enough to run almost anything. Only a Sith speaks in absolutes. Never had a problem with SSD, so not really sure why I would want to use it. See, and there's other things going on there that when you get into big disk thrashing interactions like compiling code, you're going to want to use that. Isn't ReFS about speed and availability? It should be, yes. Let's get back in here. So I updated the site, so it's now going to use those capabilities. However, I do need to create the migrations and store them somewhere so that they load up and get migrated and run appropriately. Now, this is where I'm going to run into just a little bit of an issue, and we need to figure out how to draw the line on this. Because I put the constant out here, this is being referenced and added as a library and not as a runnable project. Which means I need to add another project to do the migrations and to host the migrations and to host this. Aspire's already in. .NET Aspire's already in here. Like, I can run this right now with .NET Aspire. Right? And for those of you that may not have seen .NET Aspire, get ready. Let's do .NET Watch. Set up a launch profile for HTTP. Go. Oh, man. Are you kidding? In the website, there's a reference to memory caching that has a vulnerability. PG repository does not implement get post string. I thought we implemented that. No. Hang on. I thought we had all of those things implemented.
Now we know.
There you
and
go.
knowing is half the
Now
battle.
that's not the right hat. You saw some tabs in Blazor use CSS URL data SVG images. Is it better to have an images directory and reference from there? Depends. Depends. It might make sense to have an SVG. No, those are... What am I missing here? if you have a small enough SVG, it might be a heck of a lot easier to... Oh, I changed the signature of that to expression. Right? Right there. And we'll just do this. And now we got to go back over here and do one of these. Yes. What else? Yeah, I think we're good now. Now, that was it. Go ahead, restart. Try it again. What did we break? Get post of string, PG repository get post string does not implement because it does not have the returning, no. Returns an async task. No. No. .NET clean. Come on now. No. Why isn't it? This doesn't make sense to me. Like I did a .NET clean. It should have, yeah. I post repository. There's the interface. We're not in U yet. Hang on. And we're not on that. This doesn't make sense to me at all. Oh, Colin. Oh, the ebook. Oh my gosh, that's an older ebook. Yeah. You miss using KDE, you're on GNOME, because that's what it default to, but the Qt aspect of KDE is so extensive. It is nice. Yep, that's me though, Colin. Yep. I don't understand why this isn't compiling. Like, right? Yeah. Do it. Are you kidding? PG post repository does not implement iPost repository get post. It's that one right there. A rogue using statement and post is something else. That's the abstraction version. And this is saying it's implemented properly. Sure, go ahead, download the update. Oh, no, I'm not going to go do all that nonsense right now. No. Like, it's saying none of my methods are implemented in PG post repository. Right, which is this. Wait a sec. Wait a sec. Yeah, PG post repository CS. Yeah. I was going to say, is there... The context is only that. No. Right, and that's why I purposely named it a different type. Try and let it auto-implement the interface? No. No. There's one unsaved editor. No. What's the one unsaved? Saving text files. There's iPost repository. Okay. Yeah. And it says projects and it's spinning here. Sure, go ahead, restart the extensions. Be my guest. Like, to my eye, that's all built properly. Really? Come on now, VS Code. All right. So if that all built properly, let's go up to... Ooh, what?
Developers.
I hadn't seen that before. Askin Neckelvar? Hello, welcome. All right, then we're going to go into... Right? See, I'm trying to get used to some more of these keys. Yep, app host. And now let's do .NET Watch, launch profile, HTTP. Okay. Yes. Really? You're going to do this? And you're going to... You're not going to give me... It didn't even give me the token. What? Yeah, getting gaslit by VS Code. It's so classic, isn't it? Jeez. One more time. .NET clean. And we'll do .NET run, launch profile, HTTP. Right? There's the token. So now I should be able to control click. There we go. Finally. All right. So there's my Postgres database running. There's my database that's allocated on Postgres. There's the website. And it's just the hello world at this point. Fine. If I look at pgadmin, wait for that to start up. And I love this about .NET Aspire, that it just gives me all these tools that I'm used to having all running right here in one place. And I need to update to the release candidate. I need to update to the release candidate. Fine. Yeah. I think I have .NET. Yeah, I do keep .NET install here. And I forget what the command is I need because I want the latest preview. So I install .NET by hand. Why do I install .NET by hand? Because I can. Hey, Warm Peas. Hello. Welcome in. So I want to specify the channel, and I'm going to say... I also want to specify the preview, -Q preview. So I'm going to say 9.0. Right, so let's do this. .NET install, -C 9.0 -Q preview. There it is. It's getting the RC2. So, right, I use this install script so that it gets me the latest version regardless of what is made available on the APT service, right? You might be using Brew, you might be using something else. So this put it down into my .NET folder here. I've already got .NET available locally and on the path, so .NET version RC2. Fantastic. Next steps. Back over to VS Code, and I'm going to take a look at app host. Let's see what versions we have in here. I think there's a newer version of Aspire hosting app host. Take a quick look. Nouget.org. Miguel would always say, I would call it Nouget. Let me see. So Aspire hosting. Stabbing Swordfish asks, what's my advice on getting a mentor? If you're looking for a mentor, it's as much about interviewing them as about interviewing you. You need to find somebody who's compatible with the way that you think, the way that you interact, the way that you see yourself as a technologist. I'm not sure where to go to look for mentors. I've struggled with trying to find a mentor myself. I've offered to mentor folks at Microsoft. Never happened. I've attempted to find a mentor several times at Microsoft and never worked out. I have a hard time just trying to get folks to help me with anything. I've been turned down and ghosted by folks that I've paid to be a therapist. Like there is something awful about that experience that I went through. You're on your last year of university. And you're scared you're not going to be able to find a job. So thank you for the follow. So what I would tell you, if you're concerned about finding a job, about getting out there and getting started with something, make who you are a little bit easier for folks to identify and connect with. GitHub repositories that show some of the sample code that you've written. Blog posts as you go through and learn things. Making those types of interactions about who you are more easily visible are going to help other employers and folks in the community find you. Creating a great resume, a great CV that's sitting on LinkedIn is going to help folks locate you as well. But posting and talking about the things that you're learning, the things that you're interested in, are going to help folks find you. Going out and interviewing and attempting to locate another job is a long process. Now, I'm at a different point in my career than you. I have a different interaction with folks in this community. So I'm trying to make sure that I back off and get into what I'm looking for from younger developers that are just coming out of university and want to get their career started. Showing that you have the drive, the interaction, to be able to lead a project, to be able to invent on your own, get innovative, is going to take you a long way. And doing those things in writing, you don't have to write huge posts, but messages and public accessible messages on LinkedIn that show, here's what I'm working on, here are the things that I'm interested in, are going to help folks find you. So I hope that helps. Oh, there's communities, not just in my Discord, there's other folks that have Discords out there that are always trying to help young developers expand their knowledge base, find mentors, get connected with jobs. Check out the C# Evolution Discord. There's folks in there that are helping with that kind of thing all the time. TCK3 asks, is there a .NET version manager to easily swap back and forth? We have a file called global.json that you can go in and just change the version number. However, all versions of the .NET command line are fully backwards compatible. So you can go and find and locate other, right? Even though I'm running .NET, even though I'm running .NET 9, where is it? They moved some of these commands around on me. Yeah, oh, it's -- info. I thought they moved that to an actual verb. On this machine, I have 80401, 80402, 90100, and I have these runtimes. I have the 808. I have the 90 release candidate 1, 90 release candidate 2, for both websites and console-based applications. So, and there's no global JSON currently set. So I can change my version by creating a global JSON file and setting those values appropriately, right, to force a version. However, if we say .NET new, I can force a version number, right? .NET new web help. I can force a version number of the template right there. Framework net 8.0, net 9, and I can force what version I want when I create the project. At that point, how it compiles, even though I'm using the .NET 9 command line, I have the .NET 8 runtime available. It'll just use it appropriately. You've been part of a few mentorships with an old university. They have a pretty good selection process. Cool. No Diff got the job that they've had for the past 15 years through their blog. There you go. Start freelancing now. It's hard. It's hard to push that. LinkedIn, yes. Yep. Freelancing is a little bit tricky to do when you're starting out. You'll get cold calls from recruiters very, very quickly. Yep. LinkedIn.com. And deciding what you want to do with your skills is a big thing, right? You're not just writing code, but you're writing code to do what? Do you want to build websites? Do you want to build Windows applications? Do you want to build games? Do you want to build little IoT devices? Do you want to build massive cloud scale services? That'll help focus you on what you want to do. Miss Sophia found a web agency job after university, not the most prestigious, but pays the bills. You get exposure to different stuff, and you can do more than install WordPress plugins, thankfully. Back to WordPress plugins again. Man alive. Look at that. But now you can try more fancy places. Yep. Yep. You learned Flutter, Dev, a few applications. Hey, that's cool. So this is the challenge with learning interesting, bleeding edge, and in vogue languages and frameworks that you see people talking about online. It's really cool to learn Flutter or Bun or Zig. That's really cool. Who's hiring anybody that uses those technologies? Very, very few people. Now, learning those technologies is going to help you when you look at something else, when you look at Go or Rust or C# or Java. It's going to help you understand how things work a little bit differently because you have a different perspective coming in because you learn Bun or Zig or whatever. But nobody's hiring you for your Bun or Zig technology skills. There aren't that many people out there that are hiring for that. There are people hiring, but it's insignificant compared to the number of folks that are hiring for JavaScript or Java or C# or TypeScript skills. So you got to be careful about that. .NET Framework latest is version 4.8. That's right. Why is .NET 9 not backwards compatible with .NET Framework? Because there was a rewrite. There was a break there in compatibility. So, yeah, level 02. Thank you so much. Yep. Yeah, look at the local jobs. Do they align with the tech stack that you're looking after? Otherwise, you might want to relocate for a tech stack that you are interested in or an industry that you're interested in, right? If you want to get involved with game development, well, there's centers of game development where various studios are located in Texas and California, even a little bit in North Carolina. In the States, that is. So if you want to get into game development and you're located in Philadelphia like I am, not too many folks working in game development that want to hire developers in my region. So you're not hiring folks at entry level to use Zig. Totally agree. Yep. So, right, here's entry level junior developers coming in at a more at one of these more interesting newer technologies isn't going to fly. Yeah. When would you want to use F# over C#? I'm not a good person to answer that. F# is fantastic for building services. You can use it to build websites. You can use it to build applications. When would you choose it over C#? See, you're asking a guy named C# Fritz to tell you when you should use another product over the programming language that I named myself after. Like, come on! Let me head back over to chat. We'll answer some more questions, and then we'll go back over and get some more of the website running here. When you want something more functional than object-oriented, sure, land of the lead, sure. That's a good way to start, but you can do some functional programming techniques in C#. So there's options there that you can consider, and because .NET allows for that interop of libraries and projects and tools, you can build something in F# and consume it in your C# project. There's options there. Shurikan asks, what's my take on Visual Studio Code versus Visual Studio? So Visual Studio 2022, I really enjoy using, and I've been using literally since it first came out. Really a big fan of it. There's so many things that are optimized and that work the way that I think. VS Code is nice and light. It does some really nice things in there, and I can use it everywhere. My problem with VS Code is some of the interactions when I'm building and working on web pages in Blazor aren't up to snuff. They aren't as complete as they are in Visual Studio. So when it comes time to build Blazor components and things, I get a better experience in Visual Studio than Visual Studio Code. So C# is getting some of the F# features, yes. Discriminated unions are a ways out, right? The union types that they're talking about for C# are still a ways out. And I look at the folks that were vocal about C# lacking that union type. And it for many of these folks, it's literally a checkbox on a set of language requirements. And I don't think it's as compelling a feature for C# as these folks are making it sound like. I don't think it's that compelling at all. I think there's other ways to do that type of union type that clearly indicate that the folks that want that feature don't want to use the language the way that it's currently designed. You do Haskell as a hobby. It's just a different way of thinking. Totally. And as a developer, learning other ways to think and build applications and your projects, that's a great thing. That's going to help you in the long term. So, no, it's not going to be in .NET 9. No. It might be a preview feature that you can turn on and opt into, but it is not going to be production ready in .NET 9. Where's Visual Studio 2025? I cannot comment on project status, product version, coming product versions that may or may not be planned. That's hitting a little bit close to home on products and things that my division works on, and I cannot comment on planning for future product versions. I cannot confirm or deny that there is a future version of Visual Studio that's being worked on. But you can clearly see that there are new features being built for Visual Studio all the time. And I can absolutely tell you there are plans and things for adding the next quarterly release of Visual Studio. Live Coding, how you doing there? Says, I load our massive .NET project into VS Code when I just want to jump in and use it like a text editor. Same. I do that as well. Yes. Try-catch expressions will come to C#. Yeah, it knows it. It knows this hat. It knows this one. What do you mean by try-catch expressions? There's try-catch blocks that are available in C# now. I'm not familiar with what you're referring to as try-catch expressions. But try-catch is absolutely available in C#. Pattern matching is available in C# as well. So var x equals try catch. No, that's weird. I don't like that syntax at all. Ugh. No. Like, in general, you should try and avoid try-catch expressions because you're creating a deeper stack of that has to be managed. So if you can avoid using try-catch and you're not using expressions for control management, you then slim down that stack of expressions that you're working through. And if you're returning appropriate results that indicate success, non-success of your operations, right, and you're not using exceptions to control logic flow inside of your application, you'll end up with a faster application because your try-catch, your stack of operations you're going through becomes much smaller. It's less for the processor and the compiler to manage. You have similar experiences with Visual Studio Code. Tried it because you were tired of Visual Studio forcing you to restart to recognize new Blazor components. Yeah. Unconscious confirmation? No. There are, to be frank, there are meetings and discussions that I purposely avoid inside the division because I don't want to inadvertently communicate something to you that is under NDA, is being planned and being worked on. There are other things that I'm aware of that are being built and worked on that I cannot confirm or deny, and I will nod in any such way, but I won't. No. Adding nullability to F#. Yep. In Kotlin varx, I don't like that syntax. That is awful syntax, Sally. And I would, I would I try to avoid try catch as much as possible. Nulls are a bit of a sin in F#, yes, and I get it. It makes perfect sense. So, many great features are regularly being added to Visual Studio 2022, and that's because it has an extensive add-in system that's available to it. What's my preference between functional and object-oriented programming in C#? I do prefer the object-oriented paradigms, but I know and I can feel when it's appropriate to roll over to a functional paradigm, Genga. And having that flexibility and that choice with my tools is a wonderful thing that shows the capabilities of a tool set. I'm not going to say just the C# language, but of a tool set. If I wanted to go more functional and I really wanted to get computationally intense in some of those things, I could just bust out an entire F# library if I wanted, build with F#, reference and include that in my C# project library. That compatibility is a good thing. So, am I building a WordPress clone in C#? Kind of, null ref check, yes. But we're having some great discussions here, so I don't mind kind of putting a little bit of a pause on the coding to talk about some of these things here. Yeah, the idea is not to have nulls. That's where nullability comes in, to try and the nullability features in the C# compiler to try and limit and reduce or even eliminate the exposure to nulls, so that we can eliminate that null reference error, the NRE, right? Null reference exception in our code. So, you're in agreement, but they added nullability in F#. Yeah. Prefer the crazy exception forgiving operator. Okay. Are those glasses like specialized for looking at screens all day? They are, Slateboard. These are Gunner glasses. They block blue light. That's why you'll see reflections on the glasses. I am a Gunner ambassador. I've been wearing Gunner glasses for years and years and years. They have all kinds of styles available. I like these because they're wireless down here on the bottom. They're rimless, so it doesn't really have a bottom frame that I end up seeing block my vision. These are nice and light wire frames. These are called the Marin model. They have all kinds of fashionable glasses available. There's a coupon code below if you're interested. If you have an HSA or some sort of a healthcare savings account, flexible savings account, you can buy these glasses with them. There's a 15% off discount just below. If you use that code, my code, to buy glasses, I get a little bit of a kickback. You save some money as well. We all end up doing well. So, yep, that's exactly what I do. And I have other glasses that are actually transitions that'll go from the computer blue blocking to sunglasses when I'm outside. Those are amazing to use. Gunner shooting range glasses. No, not quite. Do I have any experience or opinion on automated testing of Blazor hybrid applications? I don't have any experience testing those. Sure it can. But that feels like something... Testing MAUI applications feels like something that I'm not familiar with, and something that we need to figure out a good way to do. But I can't speak towards those, and it's something I should probably research and do a little bit. Land of Elite has had the Gunner Intercept Onyx glasses. Still going strong. Awesome. It does have a little magnification built in by default. You can get a little bit more in there if you want a prescription. 1.5x is not bad. My I have a pair of Razor Torpedoes that are prescription. They're also bifocal, top to bottom. But they transition to sunglasses when I go outside. I've worn these, like, sitting here coding. Hey, I need to go out and run over to the ranch to check in on the horses. I've just worn these right over there, and they turn into sunglasses while I'm out working in the field, right? Interacting with the horses and whatnot. Terrific. So having that flexibility in our eyewear without having to do the trade back and forth, that's nice. But like, I'm wearing contacts right now. When I go outside and head over to the ranch at some point later, I'll change over to a pair of Oakleys, and then I'm doing the manage 2 pairs, 3 pairs of glasses thing, and that can be annoying. So, all right, head back over to the code. Let's dive back in. We had a good discussion about managing the various versions. We had a problem with the naming and scoping of the network objects. I need to update the version of .NET Aspire that's being used right here. And I want this to be, I want it to be .NET 9.9, and I want to grab the latest version of that so that I get the preview version. Now, Aspire hosting Postgres, is there a version of that's on the .NET 9? So Aspire hosting Postgres, go find that. Yeah. Right, there is a 9.0 RC1. Okay. So .NET Aspire as a framework versions differently than the rest of .NET. And that's nice because that means that that means that it can grow, it can change appropriately at the speed it needs to, right? We like that. Yeah, .NET 98. There you go. We want to make sure that we're running on the latest and greatest of all the things. What? All right, so I have this sitting in a dev folder, and it's called SharpSite down. Really? SharpSite, there we go. So let me go back into SharpSite, app host. Let's do a .NET clean just to make sure. And now if we do .NET restore, we should get the 9.1 stuff. So extensions caching memory 8.0. Extensions caching memory inside of app host. Well, it's inside web. Okay. I'm not going to worry about the web one just yet. But let's try .NET run, launch profile, HTTP, and see what we get here. You're welcome, Shuriken. I wish I had some better answers for some of your questions. Digital Drummer J loves their gunners. Only wish we could have more frame options for high prescription. Facts. You're not wrong. C# should be C#? Not copying too many of the latest fad features. I think you're onto something there. Yeah. SharpSite App Host project requires a reference to Aspire App Host SDK. Here it comes. No, that's not it. They said, right? Aspire. Hang on, bring that back. App host SDK. Is that what it should be? Try that again. No. Cannot resolve SDK. Well, I thought you said the SDK. Okay. I thought you said. Save that. Tell me that again. SharpSite App Host project requires a reference to Aspire App Host SDK. Please add the following line after your project declaration. SDK name. Okay. All right. So you're telling me I need to put this in here? Learning something new. Because we're trying all the latest stuffs. Stuffs? Yeah. And unable to find package. Found one version. 9.0 RC.1. Oh. Tartar sauce. You're gonna make me do this. And there. This. Back over here. One of these. Do that. No. Could not be found. You're going to make me type in that whole thing? Hogwash. So you're not going to give me a sliding version there. Fine. Yeah. So they got rid of the workload. Instead, we have an SDK that sets things up for you so that you can get in and start using all the things. And there it is. It's starting these other containers here. And I should be able to see... yeah, okay, whatever. Give me a new tab here. Yeah. That's fine. We should be able to see these things running. There we go. So there's Postgres. There's pgadmin. And look at... oh, here comes the new ones. Resources running, but not in a healthy state. Click for details. System threading, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead, try and open it. So we're getting the new dashboard. Haha. And we can stop and start. We can look at the logs. Right? There's Postgres. And now it sees my database. There's the Postgres database. And it didn't create my SharpSite database yet because I didn't tell it to. Unhealthy details, not much informative. I kind of agree with you. Right? If we look at the console log. Right, there it is downloading. There's the errors, and that's why it was unhappy. But there it is running and interacting. So, all right. And there's the application running. Cool. But there's more we can start to do now. We can tell it not to stop these other containers. We can tell it to have a longer runtime. But we'll get into there soon. First things first, I gotta have it actually scaffold the database. We gotta add that project to this mix. Right? What is it? Control Shift Tab? Yeah, there we go. So I need a database migration project that'll start up, do that database migration, and then shut down when it's done. This is kind of a template-based thing that we need to build. And it's one of these things, you build it once and it just does its thing and it's done. So let's do, I'm going to do .NET new. Show me the list of what we got here, because I want we're going to create a service to do this, right? Worker service, there it is, right? .NET new worker, and let's output this. We'll call this SharpSite data Postgres migration. So it's kind of organized. Right? Add that to the solution. .NET solution, add SharpSite data Postgres migration. Cool. Now, I've already got a lot of the code to actually do this, and I need... Did I do something stupid there? I feel like I did. No, we're good. I need to add a reference to the Postgres project that is doing the same thing here. So let me go into SharpSite data Postgres. I need to add a reference to... What? Yeah, there we go. SharpSite data Postgres. Okay. So now it knows how to get into where the database is. No, I haven't seen a new approach for migrations. I need to also add a reference to this migrations project to the app host so that it can start it, right? Sharp site, data, Postgres, migration. Cool. So now we can go over here. And let's make sure that that other service actually starts and does its thing. So let's call this migration service equals no. We're going to add, it's not a database. No, not DB server. What am I doing? Builder, add, add project. Project, yep. No. Oh, wait. It's in the projects. Yeah, there we go. And I want that one. Sure, we'll call it migrations. That's fine. Migration service, sure. But that needs a reference to the database. Yep. All right. Yeah, the migrations is something that we need to figure out and do a better job with, and it's not ready yet. There is... Yeah, I know. So if we go to learn Microsoft com Aspire data migrations. There's a sample that is here that does what we needed to do, and I'm just going to copy it out as much as I can. Yeah, we can add the service defaults into this, sure. It's probably not a bad idea because then we'll get metrics and logging coming out of it too. All right, fine. Sharp site, database, So, git add reference sharp site service defaults. What? Not git. Oh, rats. .NET add reference. There we go. Cool. Yep. All right. Let's open that up so you can see more of the Explorer. So now I can go in here. And before it adds the worker process, we can say builder, add service defaults. And it will appropriately add some of the metrics and things that we want to go through there. Yeah, not Git. Wait for is now in the mix. Yep. So we should be able to do wait for on things as well, right? Like, and there it is. I should be able to do wait for DB server to make sure that the database is running before we go and start the migrations. Kind of makes sense. You want to make sure that your database is running before you start updating the database. And we have been going a bit slower today here because we've been doing a lot of discussion with chat about all kinds of different topics. I encourage that, so I'm okay with this going a little bit slower. Which Java framework is this? This isn't Java. This is C#. You're watching a guy named C# Fritz. It's not Java. Sorry. So, it will work with Java, but it's not Java. Okay. This one over here, we should also say, yeah, wait for the migration service to complete before you try and start the website. Right? Java Sharp Fritz? No, Java Fritz. That's a thing that I've done in the past. I've programmed Java in the past. That was totally a thing. Now, remember when I added the Postgres references? Not JavaScript, Java. When I added the Postgres references to the website, right? Where'd it go? In the website? I added them by doing this to register the services. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I can do the exact same thing, right? I thought you... Yes. Give me that using statement. There we go. And now it'll register and make that exact same thing available, right? It'll add the repository, it'll add a reference to the database. And that's all already configured and passed along and shared by a .NET Aspire. Can I use AppWrite without Azure? Like, for instance, I have an Ubuntu server. What do you mean AppWrite? Do you mean .NET Aspire? Yes. Yes, you can. So, .NET Aspire is just a tool set to help you as a developer organize a complex application, right? So once you start adding features together, right, and in this case, right, I'm using .NET Aspire to start up a database for me, to configure and add, to start up a database server, to add a database inside that server, configure and run my migration service so that it updates and maintains the database for me, and then starts the website so that the website has a connection to the database. If you had to run this locally, you would have to run a Docker container or have some database running locally as a background service as on your workstation. You don't need to have anything installed to download and run this application. It will automatically start up, find the resources you need, and get them running for you. Is the Aspire 9 preview able to handle database migrations, or you still have to set the database project as startup? I'm going to do the database migrations. I don't think they've made any changes to that yet. I don't think it's in there. So, no. Add service defaults. And then they add tracing for an activity source name that they define over here in the worker. And that's, I'm okay with that. Adding a, where is it? There it is. That makes sense to me to have an activity source in the worker. Right, so here's the worker process. So we'll add that. Migrations, sure. That's fine by me. So that you can see that in the logs. Is this the .NET 9 docs, though? Doesn't say what version. It was last updated on August 2nd. This is .NET 8. So I don't know if that's... They've talked about trying to simplify this process. I haven't seen it yet. .NET Aspire 9 database migrations. Who dat? No, I don't see anything new here. Not yet. Should be coming, but it's not there yet. It's something that we've definitely tried to see improved. Learning Aspire in your school course. Really? I'm curious, would I replace the Postgres database container there with a DB server running somewhere else? I have. And that's okay. I would change it then to add a connection string, right? I could change that to add connection string and then pass that connection string along, because this is a resource builder of Postgres data resource. It exposes a connection string, so I would just add that. You had a local database on every developer's machine, but it might be ideal if for release configuration, you could tell the main Aspire project to replace the database. Yeah, so I do that with the aspirify.net website. I pass in a connection string that points to somewhere else. Yeah, right. Right, so if I could certainly replace this and say vardb equals builder add connection string. What? Right, sure. And it's called whatever, right? What's the environment variable name to get it out of? You can also add it as a parameter, but then that database connection string is still passed along. So because this is code, right? You could write some if-then statements around here to get that data from somewhere else if you wanted. No doubt. You can absolutely do that. Make decisions and pass those around appropriately. Right? And that's kind of the power of this. A Vart is a vertical fart? Yes. Yes, it is. A Vart is an Aspire. It is a vertical fart. Is Aspirify website open source? No. And it cannot be because of the licensing around the template that I use for it. So, Keycloak tip. Yeah. There you go. All right. So where was I? I was working on the worker here. So we want to add that telemetry, right? And there's already code in here that's written that shows how to do that. So I'm just going to bring that over. And I don't need to do this add SQL Server DB context because I already have that indirection built. I'll just add that. There we go. And inside here, so they created activity sources here and they passed in the service provider. Sure, I don't mind borrowing a little bit of that, and I'm not going to use a logger, right? And we can do that as a primary constructor. Yes. Let's use a little primary constructor know-how here. There we go. So we have an iService provider, right? And then the application lifetime, so we don't have a constructor anymore. Fantastic. Sure, create an activity source. I'll change up execute. Ensure, run the migration. Seeding, I'm not going to seed. So I won't copy that, but I'll copy most of the rest of this. Right? And then we'll tune and tweak appropriately. All right. So we've defined an activity source here. That's a system diagnostics thing, so that we log using OpenTelemetry a little bit nicer. Migrating database, that's fine. Start that. Get the required service. In this case, because we know we're hooked up to our context, I'll reference PG context. Ensure database async. Okay, those are my methods that were added just below. We're not seeding a database, so I don't need that. Yep. Give me the OpenTelemetry tracing capabilities. Here we go. So, PG context. iRelational database creator. Really? Okay. And this should be... Why don't you like that? No. Check execution strategy. Did I? Hang on. This should be PG context. Get the execution strategy, and then if your main mobile checks are for Android and Playwright, yes. There is an AMA for .NET Aspire coming up here with David Fowler and Maddie in just a little bit. So, why? Like, why are we creating an execution strategy? An iRelational database creator. I'm not familiar with that one. But it doesn't know what this is. Like, I'm not familiar with what it's trying to do here. 1 second. Yeah. Adds the migrate. Oh, you know what? I don't have the migrations created yet. Which will make those... Right, does that make those available? I forget. I don't think I need to add it directly. Maybe I do. Maybe that's what I'm missing here. I don't know. Let's check. Would make sense that I would need the entity framework references. So this is referencing Aspire, NPG SQL, blah, 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 blah. .NET add reference. Oh, man. And look at that. I've got an extra quote in there. Go get it. .NET add reference. Yeah. Right? Go delete that. Go. Oh, should be an add package. Okay. Why is Control Tab not going anywhere? Because I'd hit Shift Tab, that's why. That's Control Tab. Yep, back over here. No, it doesn't know how to do those yet. Right? No. Get the database context. Database context, get service. Yeah. Using entity framework infrastructure. Is that something we need? I don't like pulling up infrastructure like that, too. So what am I missing? There's the class. They didn't create... Where's the context? Right? I don't see the context anywhere. Ticket context. Yeah, it's not here. Yeah, it's a DB context. That's it. Wow, it closed. Head over here, go find one of those. Really? Thank you. Like, I shouldn't have to reach in and say, go get the execution context and decide what to do with this. Like, reload the window, something. Yeah, look, something's not loading quite right here. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Let's try and have it build. And then we'll try and add the migrations. No. Oh boy. Field initializer cannot replace non-static field. Come on. Yeah. Public DB set. That should totally work. Do that again. There's no argument that corresponds to the required parameter operation in the execution strategies. What? Usually put in action exception callback as a parameter before the cancellation token? Sure. But I don't think I need this. And I could just say, if it exists, if it doesn't exist, go create it. Like, I really don't think I need that. Right? Same thing here with the getting the strategy of this. Database migrate async. Yep. Like, that stuff should all just work now. And I need to actually create migrations and going after... This is open source, yes. How you doing there, Rambling Geek? It's a rite of passage for all developers to build a blog engine. Yeah, but we're gonna... Yeah, restarting the trend, absolutely. Is it difficult to configure render mode auto? No. That's completely orthogonal to .NET Aspire. Yeah. But we need to create some migrations here, right? Like, let's go create those. Which is just a little bit weird to do. Right, we're just going to create migration, so I should be able to just go sharp site, data, Postgres. Got the double slash. JW Fergus, welcome. Hello. Sharp site, data, Postgres. There we go. .NET migrations, add first. Oh, .NET EF. My bad. EF migrations, add, and we'll just call this first. What? .NET EF. I don't have the EF tool available? Is that what I'm thinking here? What permissions does SQL login need to run the migration scripts? Yeah, it needs to be able to create. It can be a vulnerability. Yes. So you change your connection string when you get to production. You put those in differently. Glad to see a .NET streamer. Thank you. Right. What did I... Back one. Create the migrations. .NET EF migrations, add. And putting it in the data project. All right. Yeah. It's weird to do this, but you have to do it from the web project. .NET EF migrations, add. Right? First. Project is going to be in sharp site, data, Postgres. Why don't you like that? Install .NET EF tool. There's instructions for this. I've got friends that are entering Hearthstone. Come on now. Are you kidding? Why am I not getting the .NET EF tool? What? No, I'm not even getting .NET EF. Yeah, can't find it. Come on now, Fritz. .NET .NET tool install. Tool. Oh, come on. Yeah, it is. No. It's already there. Bash RC. Okay, I told it to find .NET. Where is it? I thought I had. I thought I had it in here. There it is, .NET. Mm-hmm. Right, is it just .NET root? I forget it. It's been forever since I've done this. .NET root environment. No, that's the list of... yeah, all the switches. .NET install. Yeah, .NET underscore root. There we go. Oh, really? Fine. And then we'll just paste, go. Cool. Restart that. Now, do we have .NET EF? There it is. All right. CD dev, sharp site web. Now, .NET EF. Migrations, add, initial, projects, sharp site, data, Postgres. .NET add reference Microsoft entity framework core design. What? Oh, it's add package. I keep doing this. I wish it would just kind of like detect that and go do it. But hey, what do I know? All right, .NET EF migrations add. Go do it. PG post requires a primary key. I thought we had a primary key on that, John. Fine, we don't have one. Do that again. Fantastic. So now we got a migration. All right. So now I should be able to head on over to SharpSide app host and do a .NET. Do I want to do a .NET run? I'd love to do a .NET watch, but I don't think it's gonna like. It wasn't running properly before. Nope. Oh, no, I got it. Fantastic. All right, so I forgot to add the pathing in there. Fine. So there it is, and there's the migration service. What do we got? Sure looks like it created a table, right? And I can even see the structured logs specific for the migration service, and I can see exactly the database commands thanks to .NET Aspire. Love it! Right? So I can see all of that happened. So I should be able to now go into pgadmin, databases, there's SharpSite, there it is. Schemas, public, come on down here, give me them tables. There's my posts. Now, right? No. I want to see the, where is it? I want to view the content. Like, yeah, view edit data, sure. And there's where it would be if we had actual content. Fantastic. All right, we got there. So we have a table out there. No, I don't want quick settings. Give me another tab. Yes. And we can commit all of that. Completed initial database migrations. Sure. All right, so now we have a database that's running out there that will appropriately store our posts for the application. For the purposes of building and working here, I'd like to update and give this a data volume. Is that really what I want? Oh, come on now. Really? You're not going to give me... There we go. Name and is read-only. Let's call this sharp site. Yeah, sharp site data. Right? And is read-only is false. Right? That way it'll actually save that database to disk, so I'm not constantly rebuilding the database when I'm working here. So, you were right, it was a path problem, Marcus. It's just, I didn't have my .NET path set up right. As I get more and more into this, I feel like these three things should be turned into an external method so that I can extend and isolate the configuration of this a little bit easier. So let's try and make that a little bit easier. Public static class, and let's call this this will be my Postgres extensions. Right? Nope. There we go. Yeah, I liked where you're going with that. Okay. You gonna keep giving me some more here? Sure. No, that's not it. Not gonna lie, that's not what I wanted. No. Ah! I've gone too far. I want to take... Let's see, look. I've got two cursors now. I want to take all of this and put it in here. Right? That's an I distributed application builder, so we need one of those here. I distributed application builder. Don't mind if I do. Distribute it. Yeah, there we go. All right. So builder add Postgres. Why doesn't it like that? Right? I distributed application builder. I distributed application builder. No, we don't want to call this add Postgres. Let's call this add Postgres services. Right? There we go. That's better. Let's put some carriage returns in here because that's a really big signature. Okay. So let's take that name. Builder, add, Postgres, no. Yeah, that one. And I'm going to call it... Well, that's okay that it's kind of embedded there. And then I don't need that database name to pass around, do I? Right? We could make this something like that. And I'm trying to like standardize some of these things so it becomes a little bit easier to work with in the future. Sharp site. data, Postgres, constants, DB name, data. There we go. So this is, let's not just call this migration service, right? Same thing here. Sharp site. Postgres, constants, DB name. Okay. So now the migration service is, right, what doesn't this like? Oh, we're not returning the thing yet. Yeah. And I don't want you to be able to specify a name here. Why use the slug as the PK for the table and a GUID or number value? Because I want to be able to, I could use a GUID or a, let's evolve to that point. Let's evolve to that, right? Right now I've only got 3 fields on the table. Let's evolve to that, and we'll turn the slug into an index. We'll put a GUID in the front. The GUID's never going to be used to actually look up as a primary key. But we can make the slug an index. We'll get back to that in a little bit. Like, and we'll do that before we finish off and merge this all in. I want to return the migration service because we want to wait for that. Hey there, Golfs, welcome. This is so much more than writing automations for the Genesis API. Hey, Crap Teen, doing well. Hello. But I probably want to return the database, which is a iResource builder. So let's return those. Not as, I could return them as out parameters, which is going to be weird. Or we can turn this into, right? This is an iResource builder of type. Now, what's the type that of the database that's coming out? Postgres database resource. Ugh. We'll call that DB. And the type of the migration service coming out is another iResource Builder project resource. iResource Builder. And we'll call this migration service. Because then I can get rid of this, right? Because that's an output. Oh, turn this into call this out DB. There we go. So, oof. Just oof. Right? I'm trying to make this a little bit easier to understand. So, this can become var. Oh, we can decompose here, right? DB migration. Right, builder add Postgres services. Now, why doesn't it like that? It doesn't take an argument. Yep, we can get rid of that. Much better. And then I can move this to another file. So now all my Postgres stuff is configured over there. I get back a database and a migration service, and I pass them in. And all of my configuration for how to work with Postgres is in that other file, right? So I don't have it all littered in here, and all the Postgres configuration is somewhere else. And I can force that to restart. Yeah, go ahead, restart. Come on now. Why you do this? Yeah, go ahead, leave that. Nope. Stop that. Go ahead and restart it again. There it is. And there's the website. Interesting. The migration. Is that? Yep. Okay. Waiting for a file to change. Right. So it went through and checked to see, because I ran it with .NET Watch. It's waiting to be restarted there. pgadmin is finally starting. Cool. All right. This is running on .NET Aspire. That's correct. Is this the first day I've worked on this? First full day I've worked on this, yes. And we've been stopping, of course, as I do, to talk to folks about what's going on. This is Kubuntu. It's C# on Linux, yes. So this is a flavor of KDE. Is that a constructor? What are you looking at, President? Not sure. And the application is, for development purposes, running on .NET Aspire. When we go to deliver it, it'll be inside of a container. I thought it was cloud-based only as it ran in Azure. Incorrect. .NET Aspire is a tool for you as a developer. It is not an Azure thing. It is not an AWS thing or a GCP thing. .NET Aspire is a developer tool set that sets you up so that you can deploy using another tool to Azure, Amazon, or Google, or to your own local installs. So, public static method definition. This is an extension, right? This is a static class, and I have a extension method here that's returning a very long defined type. So, hey Simon, hello. So there you go. I'm defining a server. I'm defining a database that's going to reside on that server, and I gave it a name based on this constant that comes out of that library where my Postgres stuff is, and loads this up. But this then begs the question, why don't I just put this in my Postgres project? Just move the whole class over there, right? But if I did that, I think I need the Postgres hosting reference over there as well. I think. I don't know. You know what? I'll cross that when I get there. I'm not sold on it. So, but it works great for right now, and that's all I need for right now. Simon says, inspired by Ubuntober, I've switched main desktop over to Ubuntu 24.04. I've been learning it on a laptop for a year. .NET and Docker working great for dev. And Steam plus Proton Gaming just works. Yeah. It's great. Can you host anywhere? Yes. So Rambling Geek, here's, right, when you look at what .NET Aspire does, underneath the covers, what runs this website? Check this out. How it connects over to that database out there, it just generates a connection string and passes it in. So, like, as long as you give it the same connection string, the environment variable name, doesn't matter where it comes from, right? So there's tools to deploy to Kubernetes with this. The open telemetry configuration stuff here, if you want to change that so it goes out to Grafana, there's configuration options to change that too. So these are default options. There's tools that make that easier. So Yeah, and we need a better set of blog posts and documentation that show how to deploy and run those things locally. Something that I'll be working on for November, December timeframe. Hey, Sean asks, what do I think of blockchain development for services that are non-crypto, like normal finances or SMS services? Finance services running with a blockchain make perfect sense because a blockchain is structured and designed after a bank register. They have the exact same concept. It's just a blockchain happens to have a cryptographic signature on the end of it that references the previous location on the blockchain, right? It's a check register. It's a running event log of what's happened to that domain of things that the blockchain references. So, yeah, blockchain, not a public blockchain, but a privately managed blockchain for financial services, SMS services, sure. It makes sense. I think it's a valid architecture decision. But do you really need a distributed blockchain for those things, or can you get away with just an event log? Right? An event log is just a blockchain without the cryptographic signature. So why not? I'm going to allow that message from Simon. It incorrectly captured. You referenced the XXX there. You can't get on 16 of the Postgres to work with other Postgres DLL projects as the Aspire Magic. This is .NET 9 with Aspire, and it's running Postgres 17 there. So line 16. Hey, Sir Nick, hello. Why am I drinking? Because I'm thirsty. That's Alani. That's not an alcoholic drink. It's good. We're okay. And even if I was drinking, that's my choice as an adult. However, you won't see me drinking on stream. I don't consume alcohol when I'm presenting. So, Rambling Geek, we're here for answering those questions. Could you run Aspire on on-prem servers? So let me reset again. .NET Aspire doesn't run on a server. .NET Aspire is a series of developer tools that make it easy for you to architect and connect your projects and services. Could you deploy to a local system? Yes, because the output of a .NET Aspire build on the app host that generates this, is a manifest that specifies how to deploy things. You don't have to use that. Right? I happen to be using the .NET Aspire tool so that I get to build and run and launch all the things. Nothing says I need to do that. Right? No, I didn't want to hit that key. Right? I can certainly go right to my website and say .NET run here, which means then that I can, where is it? There's the host. And there it is running. So you can deploy these things appropriately from the build scripts that you were using. .NET Aspire gives you sensible and opinionated defaults so that you get the open telemetry tracing and metrics, and it gives you resiliency and reliability. It gives you service discovery so that you can connect those services together, because it passes in environment variables that specify the names and connection strings of those other things so that you don't have to think about defining and connecting them. So by starting this doesn't know where my database is. I need to tell it where the database is so that it can go connect to it. Well, how do I do that? Well, the opinion that .NET Aspire gave is that, well, you need to pass that in as a connection string. It's not going to run here
just
because I shut it
resubscribed for
down.
40 months.
Thank you for for the resub. Thank you so much. So how do you pass in the connection string? Well, the way that you normally would as an environment variable or an app setting that's sitting on disk somewhere. So it's just formalized some of that. You can't pull the code from the Aspire project to the Postgres project because line 16, the CodeGen project reference breaks. Oh, I see what you're saying. So here's the thing. I could pull it over there because it would be sitting, where is it? You're right. I couldn't pull it over because that would not be available. That reference would not be available. You're right. Totally agree. Right, or I would end up in some sort of circular reference because the migration project depends on the Postgres project. Totally right. Yep. So, okay. I'm going to wrap up in just a few minutes because I know there's lots of great questions about .NET Aspire, and I'm happy to answer those questions. But our friends on the .NET Community Stand-Up are hosting the .NET Aspire program managers today, and they're going to be talking about the 9.0 release and answering questions about that and talking about some of the new features. So our friends Maddie Montequilla, David Fowler, I believe Damian Edwards is participating as well. The three of them will be there answering questions and talking about the next release of .NET Aspire. So, you're a Windows form house, that's okay. Management has a no cloud rule, that's okay too. We could rebuild some apps using this. No, you don't need to deploy to the cloud. It uses the same. Nothing has changed about how you deploy things. You can use the exact same deployment scripts. It's just it has a standard for naming the environment variables, the configuration strings that get passed in, that define how you connect to the database. So, right? And you can light up Grafana, you can light up Prometheus to receive all the telemetry for this and use Grafana to build a dashboard so that just like I have the .NET Aspire dashboard, you can continue and work with it. And if you're building with Windows Forms, you can add a Windows Forms project to this so that starts up instead of a website and gets passed in the connection string information. That's a really good idea for a demo, is a Windows Forms demo. Any of my other mods out there, can somebody drop a message into my Discord, into the general channel, that we should put together a demo using Windows Forms, .NET Aspire, and a database? That sounds like a demo that we need. We need to talk about that so that we can show some of those things working a little bit easier together. Okay? So you're right. I can't move it back to the previous topic. I can't move that out into an extension, but that's okay the way it is there. That makes it a little bit easier to have it isolated. There's the Postgres stuff. Simon was talking to David Fowler last night on Twitter. We both broadly in agreement that in the long run, supplementing the Aspire docs with longer form real-world scenarios-based documentation would help Aspire adoption. David's read the documentation, the samples, the tutorial I wrote for the Big Bad blog that is on pause for right now. And there's more that we want to do there to make it easier for folks to pick up and learn and grow their applications. eShop architecture guides helps move the state of things forward. Yeah. eShop is like being thrown into the deep end of your home stereo configuration, right? You buy that home stereo system, the sound system you're going to hook up to your TV, and it's got the sound bar that goes right under the TV. It's got the various satellite speakers that you're going to place around your room, your woofer, your subwoofer, and all these things. But how do you connect them if you're not an expert in sound design and how those things work together? It's very difficult because you have all these pieces that for you as a sound system neophyte, you're used to just, I've got the left and right on my headphones. But now you have front left, front right, rear left, rear right, and a subwoofer and a sound bar. How do you manage all of those things, and how do they all connect together? You went from having one cable that connects your headphones into your computer to now I've got 5 or 6. Plus, that sound system has to plug into my TV somehow. How does all that work? And those instructions kind of throw you into the deep end. For advanced folks who know how to do those things, fantastic. You're in, you're off and running. But for folks who are just getting started, eShop is a little bit faster. And we'd like to be able to get folks in slower and start up and get you from crawling to walking to running. And there's nothing wrong with that. For folks that are starting out and they need to have a little bit of this explained to them and learn some of the architecture concepts, makes total sense. That's a fine way to start, and to be able to give pointers and signposts effectively along the way so that somebody who's a little bit more intermediate in the topics can jump in the middle, or somebody who's advanced jump in at the end. They're all good things, and I agree with David on let's figure out a way to structure so that we have some good samples there that make it easier to jump up and get into there. Thank you, Junie. Appreciate the tagging. The soundbar is written in JavaScript and the headphones are in C#. President Not Sure. You're right, and we can do that with .NET Aspire as well. We can add JavaScript projects into this. We can add Python projects into this. Oh, yeah. For those of us in SNR and senior in architecture roles, eShop helped explain how Microsoft Tech related to our company. Totally agree. Because you were at that level it was speaking to, it worked out well for you. Totally agree. Where I want to get to with .NET Aspire, right? My goal is that I see this as a good opinionated starting point that every application should have. You should have logging. You should have metrics reporting. You should have resiliency and retry capabilities in there. And that logging needs to go somewhere. For years and years, we've said, hey, log your exceptions. But we haven't said where you should log your exceptions, what you should do with them. And I think .NET Aspire gives you that good fundamental starting point where, as a developer, and I'm not saying as a .NET developer, as a developer, I didn't write anything in here to log my messages about how it created the database. I didn't do that. I didn't have to go and specify how to do those things. It was wired up for me automatically. So when I have good behaviors in my application, .NET Aspire has put those sensible defaults in so it logs appropriately to a place that I can read it as a developer. And that's something that I think we can all appreciate, is sensible defaults that help you do the right thing that you've been wanting to do for years and years and you just haven't. We love that. Previous, there was a gap in documentation at that level. Yeah, I think you're right, Simon. I think you're right. Blazing Pizza says, service. That being said, I totally appreciate and understand it's early days for now. Yeah. Hey, Tobo Nautilus, good evening to you. You started watching during the core wiki times, and here we are back at something like that again. Yeah. Aspire will help sell open telemetry and metrics to the senior management. Yeah, right. And I think that those are all things that we want in the long run. I need to wrap up because our friends at the .NET Community Stand-Up are getting things going here. So let me do this. Let's commit these changes, right? And I still need to fix my prompt there. It's not showing the Git content. So, yeah, let's add all the things. And we'll git commit. And we'll say refactored Postgres config from Aspire app host. Cool. And I'll push those. This is all sitting, you'll see it in a pull request on the repository that you can go out to, take a look at. The project is growing, it's starting. We're trying to get things set and configured the right way to get started. So you can go out and take a look at where we are, how that is growing. There's a link in chat to the source where we're starting with this. It's very early days, but we're growing and trying to do things right with getting services set up, continuous integration set up, and to jump in and see how this grows, how we take advantage of .NET Aspire, and then build a very compelling ecosystem around it so that folks can download and use a simple content management system the way they want to. Let me take a look. I believe they should be starting over on, they did, over there on the Visual Studio channel. Let me get you rated over there for the start of the .NET Aspire stand-up. Let's get over there to the Visual Studio channel. If you're watching on YouTube, you can head over, you can click the .NET channel just above me. But over here on Twitch, I'm going to kick off a raid over to the Visual Studio channel. All right, you're going to be magically whisked away over there so that we can tune in and learn more about .NET Aspire and the upcoming release as part of .NET Conf in November. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate you joining me. It's been a lot of fun writing code, even though we didn't make a lot of progress. That's okay. We had some great conversations around planning an ecosystem of features, integrating with PHP capabilities, designing and building out what capabilities we actually want in this content management system, and making sure that our database evolves with us. All right? Get ready to say hi to my friends Maddie Montequilla, David Fowler, and Damian Edwards over on the Visual Studio channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I wish you good health and good coding. Take care.